Welcome to a special segment of Stories Round the Table. Today we delve into the journey of a compelling artist who carries the spirit of country music in his blood and his voice. Ned LeDoux. For those familiar with the genre, the name LeDoux resonates deeply, evoking images of raw energy, rodeo anthems, and an authentic connection to the American West, thanks to his legendary father, Chris LeDoux. But Ned LeDoux is far more than just the heir to a musical dynasty. He has carved his own distinct path, honoring his father's legacy while establishing himself as a dynamic and respected artist in his own right. Born and raised immersed in the world of country music, Ned witnessed firsthand the dedication, the passion, and the unwavering connection his father had with his fans. This upbringing undoubtedly shaped his own artistic aspirations. While the shadow of a legend might loom large, Ned embraced his own musical calling with a genuine commitment. He honed his skills, developing a sound that blends the rugged authenticity of traditional country with a contemporary edge. His early career saw him paying his dues, playing honky-tonks and smaller venues, building a loyal following one show at a time. These formative years were crucial in solidifying his stage presence and refining his songwriting. Ned LeDoux's music speaks of relatable experiences, the joys and challenges of life, love, and the open road. His songs often carry a heartfelt honesty, delivered with a powerful and resonant voice that commands attention. Albums showcase his growth as a songwriter and his ability to craft songs that resonate with a modern country audience while staying true to the genre's roots. One particularly memorable moment in Ned LeDoux's career that underscores both his talent and the respect he commands within the industry occurred when he shared the stage with the iconic Garth Brooks. This wasn't just a casual collaboration. It was a powerful acknowledgement of Ned's place in the country music landscape. To stand alongside an artist of Garth Brooks's stature and hold his own is a testament to Ned's vocal prowess and stage presence. This experience undoubtedly provided a significant boost to his visibility and further solidified his position as a noteworthy artist. Continuing his journey, Ned LeDoux has become a seasoned performer, touring extensively and connecting with audiences across the nation. His live shows are known for their energy and authenticity, echoing the spirit of his father's performances, while showcasing his own unique charisma. He has built a dedicated fan base who appreciate his genuine approach and his commitment to carrying on the tradition of real, honest country music. As Ned LeDoux continues to evolve as an artist, he remains grounded in his roots while exploring new sonic territories. His dedication to his craft and his respect for the legacy he carries ensure that his music will continue to resonate with country fans for years to come. He is an artist who honors the past while firmly planting his feet in the present and looking towards a promising future. And now, as we prepare to delve into a personal conversation with this accomplished artist, let's first take a moment to introduce you to the heart of our show.
In the heart of country music's timeless tradition, where stories are woven into the very fabric of our souls, gather round the table for a journey into the heart of the songs, the singers, and the stories that define our world. Welcome to Season 2 of Stories Round the Table with Hudson and Joni. Bringing you these unforgettable conversations, Hudson James, executive producer, co-host, and singer-songwriter.
Hi, I'm Hudson James, and I'm incredibly passionate about sharing these stories with you. Season 2 delves deeper into the world of country music, revealing untold experiences and invaluable information. Grab a seat and your favorite beverage, and let's all enjoy the show together.
And I'm Joni. Hudson and I are very excited about Season 2. We're going to introduce you to some wonderful new guests who will share their story about where they came from, how they got their start, and what inspired them to follow this incredible journey in country music.
Joni Harms, executive producer, co-host, and singer-songwriter, a true icon of Western music. Her impact on the genre is undeniable. She's not just a singer, she's a storyteller, a keeper of the Western spirit. Her contributions have been recognized by the most prestigious organizations in Western music. The International Western Music Association has honored her repeatedly. In 2003, she received both Female Vocalist of the Year and Song of the Year, culminating in her induction into the IWMA Hall of Fame in 2020. More recently, in 2022, she was awarded the Team Penning Co-Write Songwriting Contest Award. The Academy of Western Artists also recognized her exceptional talent, including naming her Entertainer of the Year in 2002. Jimmy Murphy, executive producer and music manager. Vernell Hackett, public relations director and journalist. In the heart of Nashville's vibrant music scene, she's a fixture, chronicling its history and shaping its narrative. Her byline appears in respected publications, including American Songwriter, and she has contributed to major news outlets like Reuters. From covering the CMA Awards to in-depth artist interviews, she's a respected voice, capturing the essence of the music, the stories behind the songs.
Hello, listeners. This is Vernell Hackett, your Public Relations Director. We've got a fantastic lineup of guests this season, and we can't wait for you to experience these authentic conversations. Get ready to pull up a chair.
Jonathan Svoboda, social media executive. And Brett C. Burks, producer and singer-songwriter. Join Hudson and Joni as they sit down with the legends and the rising stars, sharing the tales behind the tunes, the laughter, and the tears that shape the soul of country music. Produced by the Story Weaver Studio.
Ben, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good to have you on the show today, my friend.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be a fun ride, and I can't wait to have our listeners hear some of your stories and some things about you. But top of the list, I knew your pops pretty well. We were both on Capitol Records and both did some rodeos together. And then, bless his heart, he recorded my song that I wrote with Mr. Wood Newton, Cowboy.
Oh yeah. Yep, I remember playing that live as well. We played it during the show. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I think one of the ones that I got to open and work with you guys on, you were just a pup, but I think you were out in Canby, Oregon, at the fairgrounds there, playing drums, maybe with your dad.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I was, early 20s. Yeah, when I started.
Well, very fun. Well, still have the greatest memories of all that. And then you're also a good friend with another person that I think the world of, and you've even got the chance to work with him a little bit. Brent Hill.
Yeah, boy, Brent's a great guy. Yeah, love being around him.
Yes, he sure is. And so why don't you go ahead and kick off with what you'd like to, and tell us kind of your story, and then we'll just ask some questions throughout our interview here.
Gee, where to start?
I think the beginning would be good.
The beginning's always good, but the beginning of just where I got into playing or got into music.
A couple childhood memories, and then some things that got you going in the music business besides just your dad probably encouraging you. Yeah.
Well, one of my early memories was getting a set of drums. I mean, I've got a lot of memories before that day happened, but it was like my eyes opened up, and I remember seeing some of Dad's early shows, the first ones that he ever did, and I just couldn't take my eyes off the drummer. I mean, the drummer at the time had this huge drum kit. It was bright yellow, and he would even let me get up and play during sound checks. I wasn't playing along with the band. I was just kind of making a bunch of noise, and maybe Dad saw something there. And it was a few weeks later, this a family friend of ours brought these drums to the house, and I just thought they were the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. They're blue sparkle, and I guess looking back on them now, they're actually really beat up. I didn't realize that it wasn't supposed to have a giant hole in the side of the kick drum. The cymbals weren't supposed to look like they were turned inside out. But I played them every day, and it might sound strange, for a kid at the time. I think I was about 5. I saw my path out in front of me. Like, this is what I'm gonna do, because it was like one of those things. Once I was able to play along to like some of my favorite songs, or favorite bands, I was like, hey, I can play that. I mean, I know a lot of hard work went into it, but it's like, man, this is pretty fun. And so I just kept at it. Eventually joined my first band when I was about 14, and played with that band. It was named Cowtown. I played with them all through high school, and then once I graduated, I joined up with a different band that was playing way more. And I think we were playing about every weekend. And so yeah, that was just kind of the early stages of becoming what I always wanted to be.
And you weren't singing, man, just playing drums?
No, just playing drums. Yep.
Okay. And then how old were you when Chris asked you to join his band?
I had just turned 21, and the way I got into the band, there's like 2 versions: a long version or the shorter version. I'll try to keep it in the middle of the road. But so my big brother Clay, he's 5 years older than me, was selling merch for Dad, and he'd sold merch for, I don't know, 5 or 6, maybe 7 years. And I think he was just kind of getting burnt out from being on the road all the time and being away from home, so he decided to just stay on the ranch and work there full time. And so my mom said, hey, would you want to, take your brother's place at the merch table? And it's like, not really. I got this band here in Wyoming, and we look to be pretty busy. And then she's like, well, how much do you make in this band? And she was being real sweet about it. And I said, I don't know, maybe in a month, $800, maybe $1,000. And she said, well, if you go out and sell merch for your dad, this is what you would make. And she said, wrote this little number on this piece of paper and slid it across the table. I said, well, I guess I could go sling some T-shirts for a while. And so I played the last gig with the band I was in, and that same night, Dad's drummer, KW Turnbow, got in a car wreck. And I, of course, I didn't know anything about it. I was playing, the last gig I was playing with the band I was in. And I got home late Saturday night, woke up kind of late Sunday morning, and the phone rang. And Mom had gone into Casper to get Dad at the airport. And I answered the phone, and it was Dad's guitar player, road manager, Mark Sissel. And he said that K-Dub's been in a car wreck, but he's going to be okay. He just messed his shoulder up really bad. He's going to be out for a while. Okay. So I asked him, I said, well, who do you think could take his place, until he heals up? And he said, I don't know. There's a couple guys in Nashville. And it just kind of in a jokingly way, he said, well, maybe he'll just ask you. I said, well, I don't know about that. I'm still just a kid. So anyway, Dad and Mom, they get home, and I told Dad the news. He said, yeah, Mark got a hold of me on the cell phone. I said, well, who are you thinking about bringing out? Take his place while he heals up. And he looked over at Mom, and I looked at Mom, and Mom just had this little grin on her face. She never said a word. And then Dad looked at me and said, well, your mom and I are kind of talking about it. You're getting pretty good on those drums. Would you want to come out and give it a try? And I said, well, I'm your man. I said, when do we got to leave? And so we had like 3 days before we had to leave. And I just went over and started playing drums all day long and playing to all of the stuff. And then it finally dawned on me, it's like, this would be a lot easier if Dad just wrote me out a set list. Then I wouldn't have to just kind of guess what they're playing during the show. So I still got that set list that Dad wrote out for me, and it was a magical ride, getting to play drums for Dad.
Absolutely, my goodness, that is. And then you start doing some backup singing with him too.
No, I never sang with him. No. Okay. Yeah, singing never came along until after he passed away. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's pretty cool. And you're doing close to 200 dates a year now, aren't you, Ned?
Oh, not quite.
Okay.
It'd be kind of nice to maybe play, I don't know, about 150, but we're around 50 to 60 shows a year.
Okay. Well, that's still pretty good. I know your dad was at one point was getting darn close to a couple hundred a year.
Yeah. When he really struck it there, with the music business, and yeah, they were busy. Yeah.
No. Well, very cool. I'll ask another question, and then Hudson, you kind of come up here, so I'm not hogging Ned's time. But you got to pretty much meet a whole pile of people with working with your dad, didn't you? You opened some shows even for Garth Brooks, and golly, I don't know how many. You got some kind of fun, special stories you could share with our audience about that?
Yeah, when you're in a band, the people you meet out on the road, you're not going to find them in your hometown. There's just something about the folks that play music for a living and all that stuff, But yeah, we've had the opportunity to to run into some pretty big acts, and one group I kind of grew up listening to was Sawyer Brown, and I remember when they came out, like the late '80s, I guess, and I was like, man, who are these guys with the flashy clothes and the Converse All-Stars, jumping around, just fun stuff. And, because I listen to a lot of rock and roll, still do, but those guys were kind of like rock and roll. And so I got in their fan club, and I was, at the time, I was 9, 10 years old. And then, a few years later, Dad opened up some shows for him. Played quite a few shows with Sawyer Brown, and I got to meet all those guys. It's like, wow, you guys, Sawyer Brown. So that was really cool. And but yeah, we run into a lot of big time acts out there on the road.
Yeah, good deal.
Well, Ned, what made you decide to start singing and not just continue with drums?
Let's see. So yeah, it wasn't too long after Dad passed, and I joined up with a different band. It was Dustin Evans, the Good Times Band. They're based out of East River, South Dakota, and it was a group of guys that I got to know over the years. I think they'd opened up for Dad like close to 30 times, and so yeah, Dustin called me up like 2 weeks after Dad passed and said, "Man, I'm sorry for your loss, but the job's yours if you want it." He said, "I'd love for you to come out and play drums for us." And I said, "Well, when's the next gig? Because I need to go play some music." And so I joined up with them, and it was just a weekend's gig. We were playing somewhere in Nebraska, and we played a Friday, Saturday night. And after the Friday night show, we all went back to the hotel, and we weren't too tired yet, so we were just kind of hanging out. We had some friends over, and Dustin grabs his acoustic and starts singing a few songs. And then he gets up to go get a beer or something and hands me the guitar. He said, "Hey, man, why don't you sing one of your dad's songs?" And I just laughed at him. I said, "Man, I don't sing." I said, "I'll hold on to this guitar for you, though." And so he gets back, and I give him back the guitar. He goes, "Well, do you know the words to, I don't know, like 10 Seconds in the Saddle or Tougher Than the Rest?" I said, "Man, I know the words to most all of his songs. I just don't sing." And so anyway, we finished up the weekend's gig, and I remember driving home that Sunday, and I got to thinking how fun that would be, just to learn like 2 or 3 songs. Where if I'm sitting around at a cheap hotel with some buddies or a campfire, or just go out on our front porch and sing to the birds, and hopefully not scare them off. But so it really just became like a basement project. I was just and all the songs I was learning were Dad's songs, and for some reason I never thought of learning anybody else's except for his. And so I wasn't singing in front of people. I was singing to the chair in the corner and the pictures on the wall, and just having fun with it. It was really just kind of like a hobby. And then Dad's band, Western Underground, we kind of did our best to kind of pick up the reins and carry on Dad's music, and just keep it live. And it was more or less like a tribute show for Dad. And so during those shows is when I started getting up, and I would just play one song by myself. and then I'd get back behind the drums where I belong. But I joined up. It was me and Dustin Evans and a great guitar player, Jimmy Weber, who's also from South Dakota. And every now and then we used to go out as just a trio, and we were called Cowboys with Loud Toys. And so during those shows, we'd play like 2 or 3 sets. And during the breaks, I would go ahead and grab a guitar and sing in front of a crowd, like sing 4 or 5 songs. Well, there's somewhere we played, and the owner of the place said, "Hey, I got a band coming in here like in a couple of months. Would you want to come up and open for them?" I was like, "Man, I don't know about that." I said, "How long do you need me to play?" He said, "Can you do 45 minutes?" I said, "Yeah, I think I could probably do that." And so, and that was January 2014. So that's kind of when I just started kind of tiptoeing out there and doing my own solo gigs and it all started off in dive bars, golf courses, and just little tiny places, which is probably the best place to start.
Well, I'm glad you did that, though, man. And now your story. Did Bryn write the song "One Hand in the Riggin'," or did you guys write that together? Or tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Bryn is the one who wrote it, and he wrote it over 20 years ago. I was trying to think of the album that it's on for Bryn, but anyway, at the time, Bryn was just a young up-and-coming singer-songwriter out of Utah, and
right.
Of course, he was a big fan of Dad's, and still is, of course. And he'd written this song, "One Hand in the Riggin'," and he also became friends with Dad's keyboard player, Bobby Jensen, who lives in Ogden, Utah. And I think Bryn used to go to Bobby's house because Bobby had his own studio. And so anyway, he wrote this song, and he asked Dad if he'd like to sing on it with him. And so Dad took a listen to it. He's like, "Yeah, that's a good song, sure." And so Dad and the band must have been in the Salt Lake area, maybe for a show or just passing through. And so Dad went up to Bobby Jensen's studio and put down his vocal track, "One Hand in the Riggin'." And a part of the story I don't know all the details about, but Dad's vocal never made Bryn's cut. So it more or less just kind of sat on a shelf. I mean, Bryn still released the song, but Dad's vocal wasn't on it. And I got to be friends with Bryn years ago, and I'd always catch up with him in Elko, Nevada during the Cowboy Poetry Gathering.
Yeah.
And, we got to talking about this song, and he said, I think maybe the timing just wasn't right, back then. And, the Lord has a plan for everything. I said, "Yeah, I know He does." He said, "Well, I think what His plan is for this to be a duet with you and your dad." And I said, "Well, we're on the same page, buddy." I was thinking the same thing. So, in a way, it was kind of like Bryn was kind of giving me the blessing. Like, "Yeah, you need to have this."
I know.
Yeah.
So is that out now, Ned, or is it coming?
Yeah, we released it December 4th during NFR. Yep.
Okay. Very good. Oh, man. And you're doing a few shows with Bryn here, aren't you?
Let's see. I don't know if we have anything on the books right now.
Okay. I thought I'd seen that you guys are playing some together. Maybe not. No worries. But no, your dad was one of the nicest guys, I'll tell you. I mean, and I was just overjoyed, of course, when I found out he was going to record Cowboy Up, which we've had quite a few people record that. In fact, I have not on my albums, but it was just, I felt like it was the perfect fit when your dad said that he was going to record it. So just fun and full of energy on and off the stage. I mean, it wasn't just a show for him to go up and you're the same way. You got that same energy that just comes out and gets everybody in the audience going and excited. Because I mean, if you're having a good, I think that's just something that I've felt too. Is if you're having a good time on stage, your audience is going to feel that, and they're going to have a good time too.
Yeah, that's something we always aim for, and of course I learned from the best, and especially getting to play drums for him. I just sat back there and did my thing, and just, in my opinion, I got to watch one of the greatest country music entertainers that there ever was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your dad's been mentioned in numerous different country songs.
Yeah. It seems like another one pops up every few months. Like, man, that's the thing about Dad. I mean, I don't know of anybody who ever had a bad thing to say about him, and everything he did and said was true. He was the real thing.
Absolutely, man. And I mean, doing that duet with Garth Brooks. Were you any part of that? Remember that?
I wasn't a part of it, but I definitely remember it. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Fun stuff. So, you're back on the ranch. A lot of you kind of share your time. Is that right? In Wyoming and is it Kansas?
Yeah, we've been living in Northeast Kansas for over 13 years now. But we get back to Wyoming for Thanksgiving and of course Chris LeDoux days. Even though this is going to be the last one that we're going to be doing, but yeah, we actually pass through there, get to see Mom. Especially during the summertime when we're touring. So it's nice to be there more often.
Now, is your wife? She from Kansas? Is that how you landed there?
Yeah. Yeah, and her whole family, her mom and her dad's side, all live within probably 40 miles of each other. And my side of the family in Wyoming, we're pretty spread out. So. But yeah, my wife just has a real tight-knit family, and she's also got an identical twin sister. And I learned years ago that you can't keep them separated, too long. Put in a long-distance relationship between those two is pretty hard on them. So, but yeah, we really like it here.
Good. Well, what's next for Ned? What's around the bend next turn?
Well, we're going to be releasing a brand new album. Comes out April 4th. We've released 3 songs off of there. One Hand on the Riggin', another one called Boys Growing Up, and then the last one we put out is called Real As I Believe. And so yeah, the full album will be available on the 4th of April, and we're going to be doing a big album release party in Salt Lake at the Complex. And then just kind of get fired up for the summer tour, and a lot of exciting things kind of coming around.
Great.
Yeah.
Hudson, you got any questions?
You had opened for Garth as well, right?
Yeah, we got to open up for him, I think 3 or 4 times now.
So
the last time we opened up for him was in Cheyenne for the 125th Cheyenne Frontier Days.
So what was that like?
It was awesome. I mean, the whole day. So we also had a bronze sculpture made of Dad, and it's the same one that we have in KC, Wyoming, but Cheyenne Frontier Days Committee wanted to put the same thing on the grounds of Cheyenne Frontier Days as well. And so there was this big unveiling for that earlier in the day, and then we just kind of palled around with Garth, for the rest of the day. We opened up the show for him, and then he invited me out on stage to sing "What You Gonna Do with the Cowboy," and yeah, it was a blast.
I bet that had to be, no doubt, a complete full house, the audience, everything as well. So that's pretty special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely sold out.
And you're doing some of your own songwriting now too. I've gone from just playing drums to getting out where you sing a little bit. Now you're writing some of your own material as well.
Yeah, I write the majority of all the stuff I put out. The first 3 albums I put out, I wrote, definitely the lion's share. On this new one, though, I had a lot of really good songs sent me from outside writers. And I wrote half these songs on the new album, but a good song is a good song, no matter where it comes from. But I'm kind of picky on which ones I choose, because they gotta sound like maybe I would have written it.
Okay.
Well, Ned, we are running out of time. But I want to thank you so much for coming on. You had some amazing stories.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and we'll be keeping track of you. Maybe we can do this again before too long and get a progress report on everything. But Hudson and I would just like to wish you and your family the very best, and thank you for carrying on your dad's style of music. A lot of people love that and miss that, and so, thanks for keeping it country. And, Hudson and I wish you all the best. Thanks again for joining us.
All right. Yeah, I'd love to do it again.
Okay, we will.
We'll have to get you back on.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you.
Have a great day. Bye for now.
All right. Okay, see you.
Thank you for joining us for Stories Round the Table with Hudson and Joni. We hope you enjoyed this glimpse into the heart of these stories. If you loved this episode, please subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to connect with us on our website, storiesroundthetable with HudsonandJoni.com. We'll see you next week, ready to share another story.